Spoilerin time, folks. We love this show because this is the show that's the payoff for our other show, Cordkillers. On Cordkillers, we figure out how to watch things, then we watch them and come here and talk about them. This week, we're going to talk about Better Call Saul, Season 6, Episode 5, Hacks, Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2. They gave us 2 right off the bat. And Barry, Season 3, Episode 4. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Hey, man, which one of these are we going to talk about? Is it the
Let's
good
get
one or
Barry
the
out of
bad
the way.
one?
Let's just get Barry out of the way because I know you're not having as much fun as we wish you were having
Well,
watching Barry.
how about I do more listening than talking, Tom?
All right.
And why don't you tell me what you liked about this episode?
You're not going to leave, though, right? You're still going to stay here.
Oh, no, I'm listening.
You're on a listening tour. I get it. Barry Season 3, Episode 4 started to turn it around for me. In fact, Eileen and I looked at each other and we're like, oh, okay, this is starting to feel a little better. Hasn't made it all the way around the corner, I don't think, because it started to do some of the things I liked less at the end of the episode. But there was some silly stuff when he's calling tech support for the bomb that starts speaking Korean and then switches to Japanese, and is really like a horrible design because it talks out loud and the Venezuelans are almost ready to find it. I was like, all right, this isn't the greatest moment in Barry, don't get me wrong, but this is the kind of thing I would want in an episode of Barry as a little side dish, right? You know, to keep me interested and have fun.
I did like that whole arc in that they at least showed up with a joke, and it was a pretty good joke. The best part of the joke, in my opinion, is the ambiguous voice on tech support that may or may not be a 14-year-old boy. Like, which is exactly what I would expect in the criminal underworld of somebody getting paid in Bitcoin.
That's sort of like very like, you know, non-judgmental. I'm just here to help you. Like, sounds like it worked when the bomb went off. Right. Anything else I can help you with?
Like exemplary customer service. Like what it reminded me of is the ransomware attacks, where when you say, hello, we're a hospital, people are going to die unless you unlock. It's like, okay, well, you're going to need to transfer this $800,000 and whatever. It's like, and then they full on walk you through everything like a patient customer service person.
If people don't know, these ransomware organizations have customer support lines for the people they are ransoming to call, and they're very helpul
because they want to make it
if you want to give them your money, they're very helpful.
Right. Yeah. Or you know, yeah, exactly. It's like reverse hostage negotiators. You're trying to tell them to jump.
Yeah. I did, and this is the part where I wouldn't expect you to like it as much as me. I did like the premiere where she does the awkward, you know, standing up and getting distracted by the Rotten Tomatoes rating suddenly sinking in. Of course, my wife works at Rotten Tomatoes, so we were laughing about that and sort of undermining the high-minded remarks she wanted to make because she was like, "Oh my gosh, 99," which then immediately made us look up Barry on Rotten Tomatoes because Eileen's like, "I'm pretty sure Barry this season of Barry is 100%," and I was like, "No way," and it was, which I say, I don't know how that happened. But Eileen pointed out maybe those critics have seen the entire run of the season. So maybe as a whole, it's amazing. I hope that's true. Anyway, I enjoyed those parts of this episode. The part where Fuchs is going around getting former people who got killed by Barry
to
hunt him. Yeah. I don't know. Didn't love that as much. The NoHo Hank stuff, didn't love that as much. Also, and then the Chekhov's cancel Barry that had been left out for a couple episodes finally got fired, and I felt it was a very abrupt turnaround for Sally.
I agree.
Not that I didn't believe it. I totally believed it, but it felt like it happened too fast.
Yeah, I agree. I did not care for the abrupt turnaround. I do believe that LA is the kind of town where your life could be ruined because you shouted at someone. I don't particularly love that about LA.
Well,
And
I don't think that is particular to LA. That didn't feel like a Hollywood thing. That is a modern society thing. Like
correct.
that's going to happen in a lot of places. Not all places, but in a lot of places.
Correct. I am a fan of forgiveness and eh, who boy, how about that total
I'll put it
surprise that
I'll put
Gene Cousineau was beloved for that line? Nobody could have seen that coming outside
Yeah,
of
I
all of
saw that
us.
coming. I don't mind that I saw that coming. I like that. I was just like, "Oh, good. We're not gonna string that out for too much longer. Great." Because that is setting up an absurd situation where Cousineau will be doing well. He'll be doing well and Barry won't be, and Barry will now get jealous of Cousineau, and that's a good direction that could feed some good stuff.
Yeah.
That's the way Barry is supposed to work. People are not supposed to be, following the paths that, you would normally follow.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I mean, just it's much like the show. You could just repeat what happened last week. I'll say there were no surprises. I don't like any of the characters, and with the exception of the bomb plot, they at least showed up to try to tell a joke. I was never surprised, never delighted, and nobody experienced no joy except for the bomb.
Except for the bomb, right? That was the one
Yes.
point that gave me hope.
But I am truly, truly befuddled. This episode caused me to go looking at the reviews and see if we were alone in this stuff. And this is the part I legitimately do not understand, Tom.
That's why Eileen said they must have seen the whole season.
I guess, but my goodness, the pull quotes I saw, smarter than ever. The third season is the best one yet.
Not for me yet. Yeah.
God, I would love to be as wrong about this show in this season as I have been about HBO Max in general. But I will say they probably binged it, whoever watched all of it.
Yeah, maybe that explains all of it. Anyway, I don't know. I actually think that the Barry relationship is a fine, well-told modern story for some other series. It just doesn't fit in Barry. And that's Barry season 3, episode 4. Let's talk about Hacks, season 2, episodes 1 and 2, which I'm going to jump right to the end of episode 2, where she says, look, we just got to put this all behind us, get in the car. We're going out on tour. I love your work too much, but also I'm suing you. Get used to it. I'm doing you a favor. That's just how this business works. And I just thought that was beautifully true to her character.
I loved everything about the first 2 episodes of the new season of Hacks. So good. We get over-the-top sunshine from somebody who has had a transformation and realizes her place in the Vegas legacy and understands that it's up to her to discover and speak her own truth to the world, who understands that you have to crawl before you walk, who's willing to do the hard work. And meanwhile, we have the looming tension of Chekhov's canceling email and all that stuff. And we have so many cowards. That's what I love about Hacks is the grit and power of our main character, and who can't even handle having a son-in-law lose an MMA fight, so has to fix it by saying, "You're advanced now." Now kill him.
And she's talking to herself. She's like, I need you to win so that I know that I am going to win, right? I can't have you be associated with me and be losing right now. That's not okay for my mental state. So I'm going to make you win with my talk. I actually teared up a little in that scene. That was amazing.
It was incredible. And the on top of that, they're out on the road and they're doing the, I kind of loved, as somebody, as a hardcore skeptic, there's so much eye rolling about psychics, but the way they represented them in Sedona as somebody who's business savvy and playing the game of like, essentially, I'm giving life advice so you can interpret whatever way you want.
Yeah.
I loved all of that. And on top of that, even the ending with the I'm suing you or whatever, it's like, in a weird way, we were talking about kids during the break. In a weird way, this is like a parenting moment where it's like, well, I'm really proud you told me that you snuck out to that party, but you're grounded. It's almost a kindness of giving boundaries and being like, yeah, look, you have something in you, young canceled millennial writer or whatever. I guess it's Gen Z, whatever. Gen Z writer. But and the only way it's going to come out is by being toughened up, and it's going to take stuff like this. So let's keep on rolling with it. And I loved it. I loved it.
It's such a wonderful like juxtaposition of the attitude of our generation and the generations before us, Gen X and before, of just grow up, be an adult. This is the way the world works, versus the idealistic Gen Z and millennial take of like, no, but the world needs to work this way. Everything came together where Gen Z character did the right thing and told her and was honest. And that is exactly the way it should work in her world, which is why she was so torn up about it. And our main character did exactly what a boomer Gen Xer would have done, which is like, yeah, I'm not going to hold it against you. This is actually, I feel like more Gen X than boomer. I'm not going to hold it against you, but you are getting sued. But grow up. People get sued. It doesn't have to end your personal relationship. It's just business. And I'm not saying I condone either one of these approaches, but they're true. That's what I loved about it. I'm like, yes, both of these kinds of people exist, and this is how they would interact. Well, I adore that.
I think that's the wonderful, delightful, to me, twist on this is both characters do exactly what they're supposed to do for their generation, and both characters turn out to be better than you would expect from their generation. Gen Z would want to hide and want to be petty and all that stuff, but she's better than that and tells the truth despite all logic. Everyone else in Gen Z telling her not to do it, and then and Vance in the Boomer Gen X, late Gen X or whatever, says she does better than you would expect, which is to forgive and move forward, but also does the structural thing that you have to do because it's like, I'm sorry, do NDAs not matter? It's great that you had a good time at the party. I'm glad you told me, but you're still grounded.
Yeah. I know I'm focusing on this at the expense of the rest of the 2 episodes, which were actually absolutely wonderful. But it was just such a great moment because so many times I see, from the hip analyses where people tend to anthropomorphize interactions and corporate decisions and like, well, they're obviously doing it because they're greedy and they're obviously hate each other because they're suing. I imagine the people at Epic and the people at Apple who are suing each other could sit down and have a perfectly amicable lunch with each other. And that's what we saw on display is like, the world is more layered and complex than that.
We also got to see the reverse on display in the management side of things, where they were petty, and because of the black mold situation, they're like, "I'm going to make sure every single point of all this." Bryce, did you happen to watch these episodes?
That's true.
I did. I thought they were great. I need to go back and rewatch season 1 because I really did, in good faith, try to watch it, and I fell asleep somewhere. So
season 1. Oh,
season 1. But I didn't need it really, and
I think all of it will stand up to a repeat viewing.
Yeah. I didn't love the assistant stuff, though. I mean, it was fine. It was an interesting B plot.
It is the B plot. Right.
Yeah.
It is very B plot.
I kind of loved, well, in season 1, we get more of Deborah Vance's assistant's story. So in this case, I think we're tracing the, I forget, it's probably not great that I can't remember our main character. But
he's actually one of the showrunners too. He's acting and writing on this show.
No. I actually meant the Gen Z female lead character name.
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll learn.
Ava?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that we're following a different thread backwards for a different level of pettiness, and the way
and that was cartoonishly unrealistic.
Yes.
That someone would be so willing to help up until one moment and then be like, I'm going to ruin you. I'm going to make sure that he like that. But so for some reason that worked because you're in cartoon land when that happens.
But also, like, as awkward and cartoonish as it was, I love the assistant saying, "So what? We're in Hollywood. Everything's about sex. Name anything that's not about sex." And he names 3 World War II. Name anything that's not about sex and Nazis. And then it's like they really have a moment. It's like, "Help me out." And she goes, "Babe, Big in the City?" like, I loved all of that because it was so self-aware because, yes, it's like they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. It really hadn't hit me how much they say anything that happens in LA is rubber cartoony weirdness, and anything that happens outside with Deborah Vance is realistic.
And especially, I will say, in Vegas in general, that's what immediately made me fall in love with the show is how accurately Vegas residency is portrayed. And now we're seeing life on the road portrayed mostly accurately. I don't know that it's quite so picturesque or that you stop at so many roadside attractions, but we're in this brief sunshine phase of Deborah Vance's character.
They didn't even make it to their first date, really. They just hit the road.
Yet, have they?
Oh, no. They did one. She did a drop-in Flagstaff well, it might partly be because I have toured to all these places, and I know, like, I have 20 years of experience of understanding what this lifestyle's like.
Yeah.
But I was really glad that they finished the email stuff and that they did these 2 episodes at once.
Agreed.
I was not ready for a season of the email. Yeah, I am. Let's move on.
I mean, they're going to still be repercussions because Ming-Na Wen's character is going to make sure that email gets put in the show.
Yeah.
So we're still going to have the email providing content, but without that sort of unnecessary tension of hanging over.
And I could totally see, despite Ava being the reason that this content is out there, her being the guide to a dispirited Deborah Vance on how to turn this all to her advantage with emotional clarity, just like she did in the first season. I love this show. I love
beautiful show.
Everything about this show.
That is Hacks, Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2. Let's talk about Better Call Saul, Season 6, Episode 5, Black and Blue. We get a great story of Jimmy, a.k.a. Saul. Business is booming. He barely even has anything in the office, but he kind of bamboozles his old receptionist into helping him out. He's got a line out the door. Meanwhile, Fring is aware that Lalo is coming and sort of paranoid about it, just kind of wandering out into the parking lot, sniffing Lalo in the air. While we all know Lalo's in Germany after the German scientist's wife, so that he can sneak in and get some evidence, which he does. I think the most amazing thing about this episode for me, Brian, was that we were like 25 minutes in before I realized barely anything had happened. And I was enjoying it because it's shot so well and acted so well.
And not only with the shots, but if you tell somebody it's a simple story, we were talking about Avatar and James Cameron. Amazing Grace is a very simple song. It can also, when well executed, be the most transcendent experience for a listener to ever have. That's something that we're seeing Vince Gilligan in his prime and his team and everyone who's put stuff together. I was able to take my 14-year-old Josie into this story. She couldn't decide what she wanted to watch. I was like, well, until you say something, I'm going to press play on this. And before I knew it, there's that opening vignette in which a slide rule is dipped into resin and you wonder what this is all about. And it's like, so much faith, so much confidence. He's not going to let this episode end without us knowing exactly what this is. And sure enough, it gets to the end and we're like, of course, the German connection and these people and the Shadow Corporation and all that. And seeing Lalo show up smooth and suave with a thick American accent, apparently able to turn off all of it's. I loved the courtship. I loved the spying. It was its own self-contained vignette.
Yeah.
Another self-contained vignette. All I had to say to Josie was, this guy's trying to gaslight this guy into looking like a coke fiend. And that's all she needed to know. And it made sense when he challenged him to a boxing ring fight. And it's gorgeous. It's storytelling at its best.
Bright, shining as the sun. Exactly. I was worried that the boxing match would come off as cheesy. I also was suspecting that Saul had a plan and knew more about what was going on here, and that's why he changed his mind. But it wasn't. They did a good job of hoodwinking us into thinking that these two always know what's up, and this time they didn't. Exactly. But they're going to take advantage of it.
I was really surprised. I was convinced that either this was something Saul expected to have happen, which it turned out not to be, or that I expected him to leave and have that be part of the narrative. Like, I don't know, he challenged me to a boxing match. How weird is that? Or when but that moment when he turns around, I think until further notice, he really just couldn't resist. And that implies to me that maybe Howard does have a decent, when you're trying to get a grip on something, you got just a barely little fingernails underneath, like maybe Howard has some power here.
He's got some purchase on this situation. Howard's no dummy. Howard didn't get where Howard is without being able to think ahead and react. And yes, neither Kim or Jimmy are dummies either. But this has been a one-sided match up till now, and I think that was what happened here, is to show that Howard is ready to literally fight back, and Howard was not convinced, even though he knocked Saul down, that this is over, and is ready to fight even more. And I think that starts to point towards why we don't know what is up with Kim Wexler in Breaking Bad.
And Howard, I think, it sums it up pretty succinctly at the end of their match, which is like, don't mistake my kindness for weakness.
Yeah.
Sometimes
is that what he said? Because my version, he said, don't mistake my fleekness for weakness.
That's right. It was the 2022 version. Yeah. But I thought that was great, and it really resets Howard in your mind, right? Because we've spent the past couple of years being like, oh, he's kind of trying to get peace, he's trying to get rid of this anger and aggression, and then you realize, oh no, he is like a partner at a law firm. And he is going to be really powerful regardless.
Not only that, but also remember, as of last episode, this episode, he has 100% correctly called. He has correctly surveyed the battleground down to the soldier. And that is not a situation that I would want to be the less powerful one against.
I bet that's
because when Howard confronts him, when Clifford Maine confronts him, that was the weakness in Kim and Jimmy's plan, was that Howard saw right through it immediately.
Yep.
Even though it fooled Cliff, it didn't fool Howard. And Clifford is like, Howard, hold on. And Howard's like, I'll fix this later. This is not a.
He doesn't even stop to explain.
He doesn't. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't even push back. He doesn't like. That's the part that should scare you, Jimmy McGill. Is that Howard just rolled his eyes and said, "1 minute, I'll be right back."
Jimmy, in Kim's world, Howard would buckle under that and be like, "No, Cliff, we're friends," and that's how that was supposed to go, and that's what they didn't account for.
Mm-hmm. I also really liked Kim got her own little bit of a scheme when she was talking to her former paralegal, right? Because it seems like, they're just having a nice catch up, and then you realize, she was actually getting the name of the judge.
Milking information, yep.
And I think Ken from Chicago in our chat's got it right. I think that this is also part of Jimmy and Kim's plan. I think being caught a little bit is part of it.
I would
not be surprised
off, because you don't see them panic. I think they did account for the fact that at some point Howard will see through it. Maybe he saw through it a little faster than we expected. Maybe he saw through it in a different way with the boxing match. We didn't expect that, but they are ready, right? Like neither of these are not cartoon characters. Everybody is talented in this fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That is Better Call Saul season 6, episode 5. Next time we talk, we'll be talking about Better Call Saul season 6, episode 6, Barry season 3, episode 5, and Hacks Season 2, episodes 3 and 4. I said earlier they're only putting out one, but I'm wrong. They're putting out 2 every week, which Max originals, they sometimes do that. So again, Hacks Season 2, episodes 3.
Which, by the way, for the record, I think is a brilliant strategy on their part. I think that's the right way to do it.
If you would like to get these episodes earlier, if you would like to get a little extra spoiler in our After Talk episodes, you got to become a patron. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. We'll spoil you again next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.